Namaskar and welcome to Indian Diplomacy, show on India's national broadcaster Doordarshan about Indian foreign policy, India's international relations and global and regional problems which India is helping to resolve. Viewers, in this episode we are taking up a very big challenge that has emerged for the international community at large. This is the threats to maritime security. From conventional to unconventional, there is a range of actors who are posing unprecedented threats to maritime security. What is India doing about it? What is the rest of the world doing about it? And what is the way ahead to make the high seas safe and secure for all? That's the theme. And to discuss this, I am very privileged to have with us in the studio Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha. Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha was a former Chief of Integrated Defence Staff, decorated Indian Navy officer. He commanded the Western Naval Command. Vice Admiral, thank you so much for joining us today.
Namaskar, Dr. Chaulia, and thank you for getting me here. I'm quite delighted.
Sir, since the Israel-Hamas war started in October 2023, we have seen a surge in so-called rogue attacks by militia groups based in Yemen on maritime shipping and commerce on the western end of the Indian Ocean leading into the Bab al-Mandab and the Red Sea. That region has been in turmoil, and there have been so many attacks on vessels over the last few months, and the whole international community has been exercised as to what to do about it. Different actors are responding in different ways, but I would like you to reflect on this unprecedented situation, sir, to begin with. And it obviously comes from land. The problems are happening on land, but then the spillover is coming into the commons, which is the maritime commons. So this is quite unprecedented. In many decades we haven't seen this level of pressure that we are seeing on something that we usually assume as a very fundamental pillar of the international order, the freedom of navigation. That is under challenge. So please tell us what you think about the current situation and how it's been evolving.
Well, thank you for this question. I think this is really troubling the whole world. As you rightly said, the groups in Yemen, and I would like to name Houthi group, which is apparently supported by another country who is reasonably friendly to us. They have been attacking the ships in support of the Hamas, which is having a conflict with the Israelis, and they seem to be attacking relentless sort of attack on any ship and every ship. Initially their intention was to attack only the ships which are destined or coming out of Israel. But that has not happened because it's quite difficult to identify the ships, particularly if you are attacking by drones or if you are firing the missiles. There are ways to do it, but I guess that is not very easy to get there. So their attacks have been absolutely relentless, and some of them have been also the ships which are destined for India or they had Indian crew. Large number of Indians are working in the merchant navy. So this is what it is, and the attacks became so much that the American and the British navies they said that we cannot allow this to happen. The global commons must not get impacted. It is affecting the world trade. Just to give you an idea, through the Indian Ocean, roughly 1,85,000 ships traverse in either direction in 1 year. In fact, in last 6 months, the recorded data is 1,65,000. So that is the kind of traffic that you are talking about. Nearly 70% of the entire global trade, nearly 50% of all oil trade of the world.
So it's like the lifeline for the
absolutely
global economy.
Absolutely, economy, progress, prosperity, and what have you. So that is where it lies, and my sense is that till this Israel-Hamas is sorted out, I don't think you will be any let up in this. But in response, the Americans have fired at the Houthi locations where they think their bases are, and it has been responded back. Every time it is being responded back. How do we handle this? A large number of ships have taken a longer route, which is roughly, I would say that it takes another 7-8 days. 20% increase in cost, 20% more time around the Cape of Good Hope, around the African peninsula. So that obviously cost, adds cost to the consumer. So far we have managed to keep the prices down in the oil, but it's not going to happen for very long. It's going to increase because I don't see this let up. Now, Indian Navy, what it did, that we are all aware, first two ships which were hit by the missiles fired from the drones, one of them had caught fire and the Navy was there to extinguish the fire and take the ship into Indian harbor, so that it could be repaired and set back onto the destination that it was going. And other vessel also, it was hit quite badly, but it did not catch fire, but it required some repair. So that is what is happening. One more ship which has been hit by the drone, but the damage was not so much. What have we done? What we have done is that we are the strongest and largest resident navy in the Indian Ocean, and therefore we have a responsibility to the world, and as you rightly mentioned, that freedom of navigation, and more than that, there is a right of innocent passage to the global commons for conducting commerce. And the government of India, as you know, that Prime Minister Modi has been talking about Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, and it fits into very much just what the UNCLOS says. So it gets buttressed, and Indian Navy is sort of complying with that to the hilt.
Right.
We have deployed about 8 to 10 ships in that area, and once they come out of the Red Sea, the Indian Navy ships, they escort them as far as possible when they are out of danger, and then they are let off to their own destination. Ships are also deployed in the northern Arabian Sea because of the Straits of Hormuz. There was one ship which was hit. It was just about 220 miles from Gujarat coast. So we are looking at something which is becoming widespread, and more ships will remain engaged. I'll come to piracy later, but this is the general situation in the Western Indian Ocean, and Indian Navy ships are very large number deployed, and I think it is really including the drone, and I was hoping that the Americans will clear the sale of 15 drones. So that will help, because the Sea Guardian
we'll have more capacities to tackle this challenge.
That's right. You can employ lesser number of manned ships because they are very capable. So that is where we are at the moment.
Right. Viewers, it's not only the militias that are attacking maritime commerce, but also the good old pirates. And while the Houthi rebels in Yemen are not directly linked to the pirates off the coast of Somalia, the chaos or the lack of order in the region has also led to increased piracy in the high seas, and Indian Navy has been operational to try and deter pirates as well. And this has become, that's why, a multi-dimensional challenge. I'd like you to watch rare footage put out by the Indian Navy of Indian naval officers in combat, in action, deterring the takeover of an Iranian flagged vessel with Pakistani sailors, and how India actually rescued these Pakistani sailors from pirates off the coast of Somalia. Let's watch this and continue the discussion.
किया हुआ था, पकड़ा हुआ था। इन लोगों ने 4 लालचू को और भी पकड़ा था। ये लोग अभी नेवी को देखा, सारा हथियार डाल दिया, सरेंडर किया।
कितने दिन से भागने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं?
12 दिनों से हमको हाईजैक किया। ये लोग नेवी को देख के भागने की कोशिश की, नेवी वालों ने लोगों को पकड़ा कर इन लोगों ने हथियार सब फेंक दिया अपना।
सोमाली लोग हम लोग को सुबह से पकड़ आए, सुबह से हमारा लोग को पकड़ आए, ईरानी लोग को पकड़ ही दिया। और उसका हाथ था, दोपहर इंडिया का नेवी आया, वो सोमाली उसको देखा, फिर वो सोमाली डर गया, फिर हम लोग का थे। हमारा जान बचाया।
So, viewers, we just saw how the Indian Navy has been in action and showing its mettle. Coming back to Vice Admiral Sinha, sir, we just saw the efficiency and the daredevilry and the valor of Indian armed forces never been in doubt, but now we are showing it quite far away from our shores, and just the very fact that the Pakistani sailors were praising the Indian Navy for saving them is in some ways ironic because of the geopolitical conflict we have with our neighbor and the historical animosities. But when it comes to the global commons, we don't discriminate, and anybody who is a sailor and who is a civilian, like you said, the right of innocent passage must be ensured. And that sense, our policing and our role as a sentinel of the high seas is really being highlighted through these missions. And even our External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar was talking about how, as we grow more powerful, we take on more responsibilities, and this is a clear example of this, sir. So how do you think we are handling the pirates, and what more can we do with this problem?
Dr. Chaulia, this is a little complicated question. I'll tell you why. It's not straightforward. Now, if you look at the piracy, it has just increased at the time when Red Sea is in turmoil at the moment. And I would think the pirates have been taking advantage of the situation because the ships have to slow down in the in the Red Sea area. When the ships are slow, it is easier for the pirate boats to reach them and climb up and try and hijack the ships, and thereafter demand some ransom. But I would go one further, and I would like to throw my hat in to make a guess that possibly it has something to do with the financing of the Houthis in Yemen. Otherwise, there should have been no linkages really. This is one of the reasons that I think it is. I may be wrong. But why has it increased? Because the Houthis are being funded by which country, weapons are being given, and that country is also under sanction. They are not very financially well off at the moment. And for funding, as you rightly said, the terrorism is over land, it spills over to the sea. I would say the ransom collected over sea, it goes back to land. So there is a reverse procedure also, and ultimately it is for terror financing. Otherwise, the guys who are doing the Somali pirates just get $500, $600 for each boarding like this. So that is one aspect. Coming back to the actual done by the Navy, from 2008, Dr. Chaulia, we have been deployed on the high seas, including the Red Sea area, and we have been policing. We have actually escorted more than 5,000 merchant vessels of different nationalities out of the Red Sea and into safer areas. Here, the last 3, 4 and the video clipping that you saw, this is exactly the standard operating procedure of the Indian Navy. First, they don't start firing. First, they want to make sure that the crew on board is safe. As you said, right of innocent passage, right to live. And again, come back to Prime Minister's that famous word, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, somebody who is in distress, we don't worry about which country does it belong to, it's a human life and it has to be saved. And as you rightly said, it's a very true demonstration of our will to pick them up. So once they are being warned, the PATI transport aircraft, the maritime patrol aircraft, it flies low over that ship or boat, and it warns, they have got a loudspeaker system that look, now you are being tracked, you will be boarded by marine commandos and you will all be killed. And it's good time for you that release the hostages and get off the ship and push off from wherever you came from. Many times it takes longer. But the first incident that took place, they came out quite quickly. By the time the Marine Commandos boarded, they had already left the ship. So, this is what is happening. The pirates are scared of the Marine Commandos, they are scared of the warships, because obviously it has got firepower.
But Vice Admiral, I do see how they can be scared, but then does the message echo in the broader, let's say on the coast, off the coast from where they are embarking on land? Does is there a signal going back ultimately through these experiences that look, Indian Navy is there and we better curtail our activities? I mean, that's ultimately the test, right? That individual incidents are happening where we are showing great bravery and we are being successful, but ultimately will it deter these pirates because they see that there's a powerful navy out there and there are a few other countries which are also doing these operations. And the last wave, you spoke about 2005 to 12 of piracy, ultimately it was curtailed through combined efforts of a lot of countries. But this time, we are part of the combined maritime forces arrangement, but we are not joined the Red Sea Task Force, or we are doing it on our own rather than under the American flag or the leadership. So, what do you think that the signals, and what does this mean?
It is no problem at all, because we believe that the Red Sea, the two navies which are there, they are enough to counter the challenge that they have right now. Doesn't require any more navy. And secondly, we have complete strategic autonomy. As you know, we don't like to operate in any coalition. However, on spot coordination goes on. If the US Navy says that following ships are coming out, Indian Navy says fine, I have identified and I will escort them now. So, that coordination goes on, because we are also partners in Malabar. So, we are aware of the standard.
There's interoperability.
Standard operating procedure, the communication network is similar, and a lot of equipment. PATI can actually talk to them, talk to us. It's the same aircraft like the Boeing that they operate. They have got the Poseidon. So, I would think that is really not a problem, but we don't like to work under any other flag. We like to operate independently, strategic autonomy. And coming back to a signal, yes, signal goes to the headquarters in Somalia, but there are pressures from the groups who are being terror financed is so much that now the pirates are only waiting to save their lives. They will come, but they will vacate very quickly. They don't want to get killed, because it was Indian Navy, and only Indian Navy so far has shot a pirate boat off in 2008. It just shot them off, if you recall. Of course, the case went on for
basically it sank, the vessel
sank.
Yes,
It sank. 2008, INS Tabar was the ship which actually sank that ship, the only time. And they said no, it became dangerous to us, it was firing at us. So, they are aware that Indian Navy is strong, the Marine Commandos are deadly people. Such a huge ship, they actually ransacked the ship, made sure that they have, the crew is safe, and then they let them off. So, the message goes, but the compulsions from the terror groups is so much that finances are required. So, they will try, sometimes they may succeed.
Taking the risks.
Take risk, but as long as the life is not risk, they will try this, and I think that it's not going to calm down.
Viewers, so far we have spoken about these unconventional threats to maritime security coming from guerrilla groups and from pirates, but there is a 800-pound dragon, so to say, in the Indo-Pacific, and this is China. And this is a great power in the world with a fastest growing naval and shipbuilding project, and which is likely to have at least 5 aircraft carriers by the year 2030, and they are aiming to have 10 or more by 2049. A very ambitious power, which is also impeding freedom of navigation for different reasons, not for ransom or for as a blackmail, but actually to establish hegemony. So, viewers, we have a very interesting package about India trying to answer the China challenge by building its own conventional capabilities, by getting its second indigenous aircraft carrier and its third aircraft carrier overall. Let's just watch this and continue the discussion. So, viewers, you just saw India's response to the conventional challenge in the maritime security domain. We have to compete and have to keep up with the Chinese in order to be able to deter their hegemonic activities, their efforts to spread their influence and to dominate the two oceans, both the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. Coming back to Vice Admiral Sinha, sir, this challenge is going to be more long lasting. The piracy and the Houthis and all those may over time wane, but we know that China is here to stay. The kind of investments they are making into their naval modernization and the build up is just incredible. And to face that, how prepared are we and what more do we need to do for this kind of threat to maritime security?
Dr. Chaulia, you're right that it's a 800-pound gorilla. But at the same time, I read an article which says, China is not 10 feet tall. So, yes, I mean, they are progressing and they will enter the Indian Ocean with a carrier battle group. Even now, their submarines and ships are operating in Indian Ocean under the pretext of anti-piracy patrol. As you know, they are very much there. They made a statement that we will escort our ships, but no other ships. So, they do not have any responsibility to the world because unfortunately they do not follow the UNCLOS so rigidly. You saw the example in South China Sea, Scarborough Shoal.
With the Philippines.
Scarborough Shoal and the second Thomas Shoal just now. So, the point is that it is not a law abiding country, does not keep to agreements. So, no matter how many agreements you sign, you will have to be ready. Now, fortunately for us, the geography has been very kind to India. Any entry or exit into the Indian Ocean is through choke points, and on the eastern side there are three. One is the Malacca Strait, then you have Sunda Strait, then you have Lombok Strait. In fact, there is one more further down, which is not really a choke point, that is the Ombai Vatar. Ombai Vatar, the submarines can come dived because there is sufficient water, but other three which I named, the submarines have to be on surface because there is not sufficient water below the submarine. So, it does not dive, it has the danger of.
So, they can be detected in maritime reconnaissance.
That is right, maritime patrol aircraft, visual, electronic, and we have a very strong maritime domain awareness network, which is located in your Gurugram, as you know, in Manesar, and it keeps getting input from aircraft, ships, submarines, friendly ships, merchant ships, and all this is fed into a data, and that data is projected on a wall. So, you can actually make out which ship, which submarine is where on a data wall at all times. And if you recall, during the Indo-Pacific Quad Summit, the President of United States in Tokyo, he made a commitment of spending $5 billion and connecting up all the MDAs of the Quad countries together by another 5 in next 5 years through satellites. So, you will have the Indian maritime MDA, you will have the American MDA which is in Singapore, you will have the Australian MDA which is located in Solomon Island, and some more will be created. They will all be linked through the satellites, and you will have a real time picture of entire Indo-Pacific at any given time, and it can be accessed by any of these 4 countries. We also have friendly countries who are part of this MDA. So, what we do is we look at that and we make sure that all the choke points are under surveillance physically. We have our ships deployed, what is called the mission based deployment, that are deployed in 7 portions of the Indian Ocean, which are choke points: the Northern Arabian Sea, the Northern Bay of Bengal, Lombok, Sunda and Malacca Strait. Either a ship or a submarine or a P-8I aircraft or the MQ-9, the Sea Guardian.
And sir, last point about coordination with other countries. Obviously, the defense diplomacy is much more important for us when it comes to counterbalancing China than these ragtag pirates or the Houthis. So, on the eastern side of the Indo-Pacific, how important is our collaboration with, you already mentioned Quad, but also Indonesia, Vietnam. These are countries with capable militaries and which have problems with the Chinese, even the Philippines to a lesser extent. So, how important is that, and what more should we do with these countries apart from Quad?
No, very, very important. You see, the Navy is the best tool for exercising India's foreign policy, mainly because the Navy does not have borders. You come out of 12 nautical miles the territorial water, you are in the world. Navy's nearest neighbor on the west coast is the Arab Peninsula. We do not have any land in between. So, we deal with them on a daily basis. All these you will find whenever you have a bilateral or multilateral, the first thing that happens is the maritime security exercise, because one country alone cannot look after all this. It is not possible. A famous dialogue of Admiral Mike Mullen when he was CNO, he said that we require 1,000 ship navy in the world, and we still haven't reached, in spite of China and America having sort of
Competition,
we haven't reached 1,000 yet, to my mind. So, what happens is that we have bilateral and multilateral relation, we have exercises with them, with the Indonesians, with the Malaysians, with Thailand, Singapore, and we do that very close to Malacca Strait. Sometimes it is all together. The Milan exercise which takes place in Andaman Nicobar, I think last time there were more than 20-30 countries.
Correct.
So, they are increasing by the day. So, the diplomatic relation, cordial diplomatic relation is essential for developing these kind of maritime exercises, and nothing better than Navy, because Navy does not have any borders.
Absolutely. So, viewers, Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha is saying nothing more pivotal than Indian Navy for defense diplomacy, because of the geography and of the high seas and the openness of the high seas, where we can operate and build relationships and coalitions. We are not into any alliance. We don't fly under the banner of any other state. We don't work under the command of other countries. India is an independent country, but at the same time we coordinate closely, and that's the way forward to deal with the maritime challenges from the western flank of the Indo-Pacific all the way to the eastern end. India is stepping up the plate and is playing a more proactive role. I want to thank Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha for sharing such valuable insights which will enlighten the audience. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Viewers, let's keep our eyes on the Indian Navy. It's out on the prowl. Everybody who challenges freedom of navigation, be it a conventional actor or a non-state actor, you better watch out. Indian Navy is there, and it is going to fight for global public goods and global commons. I'll see you again next time. Until then, take care.